Hey, welcome back to Willow Creek Hillside Homestead. It's Jenna. Today we've spent some time in the kitchen and a little bit of time in the woods, so I thought I'd bring you along. We spent a little bit of time this morning in looking and foraging for wild blackberries, and then we've spent some time in this afternoon in the kitchen making blackberry jam. I used the open kettle method and used the old-fashioned recipe that did not require pectin. It is equal parts fruit and sugar. Boil that, and then you have your jam. So I'm going to bring you along with me right now, and you can see my processes. Full disclosure, I didn't decide to actually record this into a video until I'd already done some steps, so I will go ahead and let you know along the way all the steps you need to take. First, you'll need some blackberries. I have about a half a gallon right here. I washed them, soaked them in vinegar water for about 30 minutes, and then let them out to dry. You'll need a heavy bottom stock pot, and then you'll put your clean berries into the bottom of this. Turn on the heat to about medium to medium low, and then start mashing them. After a few minutes, it'll turn into this liquid. This is just the blackberries breaking down and mashing and releasing all of their juices. You're going to stir this around and let it start boiling. Once it starts boiling like it's starting to right here, you need to boil the fruit for 3 minutes, and it will need to be more of a rolling boil than just this right here. Now the boiling is picking up speed here, and that's what you want to see. You want to see more of a rolling boil that you can't really stir away once you go back to stir. You do want to keep the bottom of your pot clean by continually stirring. So a few more minutes have passed by, and you see the color change in the berries and the boil that's happening here. That's what you want to see. And again, when it's has been boiled for 3 minutes, you're going to add your sugar. I used 6 cups of berries, and this is 6 cups of pure cane sugar going in. That is a lot, I'm very aware, but this is jam and we don't skimp on that. It's going to be sweet. This is not a sugar-free version. This is full sugar. So this recipe calls for equal parts fruit and equal parts sugar. So this is 6 cups of blackberries to 6 cups of sugar, and you're just going to stir this in until the sugar is completely dissolved, and you're going to bring this back up to a boil. This will take it took me probably, I would say, 10 or so minutes, maybe a little bit more. I had my temperature low because once this sugar gets in here, it's going to want to start sticking. So make sure you keep your pot continually stirred once the sugar goes in, especially because you will feel the sugar start to crystallize on the bottom, and you do not want that to burn. So continuously stir until your pot comes back up to a rolling boil that you cannot stir away. Okay, now you may notice another color change. You see that deep color versus the lighter color that we had a minute ago. The pot is really starting to start boiling underneath, and you'll see that in just a moment as I keep stirring. Those bubbles are going to start coming up, and there will be some foam kind of start on the top of the jam, and that is okay. Just leave it and just keep stirring. While we're watching me continue to stir here, I will let you know you do need to have your jars prepared ahead of time that you're going to put this jam into. I used jelly jars. You need to make sure that those jelly jars or whatever jars that you decide to use are freshly washed and in hot water, because you're going to put hot content into them. So over in the sink, I had my jars freshly washed, and they're sitting in a sink full of very, very hot water along with the lids, just waiting on us to get ready to put the jam in there. So I told you it took probably 15 minutes or so for the jam to come back up to a boil once I added the sugar in. I did go ahead and cut several minutes of that time out because I didn't figure you wanted to watch it for that long. But finally, here we are. This is what it looks like when it gets to that rolling boil with the sugar. Once you see this consistency, you're going to have some foam on top, and you're going to have these continuous bubbles even with me stirring. That is what you want. You're going to set your timer for 3 minutes, and you want it to go to this full boil for 3 solid minutes. Again, continuously stirring. Do not stop stirring once that sugar goes in. If you do, it's going to burn on the bottom. Okay, so the timer went off. We're moving on to our next step. We're going to pull the jam off of the heat, turn off the stove eye, and you're going to pick up your whisk. You are now going to set the timer again for 3 more minutes, and you are going to whisk the jam. All that's in this pot is those berries and the sugar. Berries have boiled 3 minutes. You've added all your sugar. It's boiled for 3 minutes total. And then you're pulling it off the heat, and you're going to start whisking. This releases the natural pectin in the berries. This is why you do not have to put pectin into this recipe. So this is a very important step. Do not skip it. You are going to whisk for 3 solid minutes. There is a timer going, and if you watch this foam on the top, it's going to be incorporated back into the jam during this process as well. Okay, so we're almost there. It's almost been 3 minutes, and we've got this jam all whisked back together. The next step is going to be loading them into the jars. So you need to make sure you have those hot jars ready. And we are doing an open kettle method with this jam, which means we are not water bathing it. We are not pressure canning it. We're letting its own heat seal itself. Long 3 minutes, huh? Now you see why I cut out the rest of the time. So we're finishing up our 3 minutes of stirring the jam here, or whisking it technically, to getting its natural pectin released, and then we're ready to start jarring it up. Okay, so now I've got my jelly jars and my canning funnel, and I am starting to fill up the first jar. I did go ahead and fill up all the other jars off camera except for the very last jar, so you'll see that in just a second whenever I cut to that. But we are filling these up and leaving about a 1/4 inch headspace, which would be about to that top lid ring there on the jar. So you just ladle those in and fill those jars up to that top little lid ring, and that is approximately 1/4 inch. Now I am taking vinegar on a rag and wiping off those lids, and this is the very last jar. I did the other jars off camera, just to make sure that the top is clean. Go ahead and wipe it with the vinegar, put the lid on, and then finger tight the actual ring, and you're just going to set these to cool and to seal. This is the open kettle method. You do not do anything to them after this step except for just let them cool, and they will seal on themselves. You'll hear the little ping, the little metal tab in the center there will go down, so that means the jar is sealed. So remember, if I can do this, you can do this. You're worthy, and God bless you. Until next time.